Hey, Mijo and Mija, welcome back. Today, I have a good episode prepared for you guys. We're going to be talking about finding and dating your type. Growing up, I always thought I had a very specific type of person that I was interested in, and I thought it was locked in forever. But as you grow and as life changes, you learn that your type evolves as you evolve, right? So I want to talk about it today. I want to discuss it because I know relationships are a hot topic for the podcast, but I think it's just something that's very trendy right now where people are trying to be very in tune with relationships and with emotions and being emotionally intelligent. So, what is a type? Like, really, like, what is a type? I think a type is this is my definition now because I don't know if like future me is gonna look back and be like, what the fuck? But a type is not just the physical appearance of someone, it's tied to someone's energy, someone's lifestyle, someone's values. And if we're being honest, sometimes someone's type can be tied to trauma. It could be tied to either something that they're missing or have missed growing up, or something that they want and have always craved, right? And what that looks like is oftentimes people that weren't, loved as much as a child, they're seeking that love, or sometimes people seek attention, or sometimes people seek someone that's more authoritarian. Totally fuck that word up, but you know what I mean. Sometimes it's also what you think you deserve. And if we're being honest, your type says more about you than what it does about them. And I want to dive into all of that today. When you're younger, I feel like you often pick your type and, build your type around things that don't really matter so much now, but I feel like you're picking it based off of like someone's popularity. Like, are they the popular person in school, or does everyone like them? Like, sometimes people tend to think, oh, I'm attracted to that. I want someone that's popular, someone that's at the top, of the school. Sometimes it's looks. You want the person that's the hottest and the most attractive and has the nicest body, or someone that's on the sports team or the dance team, whatever that may look like. Someone's a social status, or someone that can give you that validation of like, I'm with the top shit, like hot shit. I'm dating like number one. Everyone wants to be with this person. Like, I want to date the person that everyone wants to be with. I think when you're younger, those are the things that you focus on. And of course, as you evolve and as you grow and as you start to learn more about life and have a different perspective about life in the future, you start to change. And a lot of those things are things that you no longer identify with or you no longer care for. So when you're younger, I feel like a lot of the times you're not really, most of the times, I want to say, don't come for me, but a lot of the times you don't even like this person if we're being for real, for real. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of us who can think back to people that we either talked to or dated in high school, middle school, some kids even elementary, which is crazy. But you think back and you're like, I didn't even like that person. I don't even know why I dated them. Like, it's just the fun part of, being a kid. You're exploring yourself. And part of that is like just learning what dating is and what it means to be dating a person or having that first kiss, right? But I feel like a dating is more of alignment and attention as you grow up. And I think now, as a grown adult, dating tends to look more like values, right? So, like, what does this person value? If you're a religious person, like, does your religion align? And if that's not a priority for you, like, are you okay with adapting to another religion? Some folks aren't. Some folks want to find someone who practices the same religion as them. Some are okay with doing a hybrid version of that. You start thinking about kids, like, does this person want kids because I really want kids, or I don't want kids, and do they want kids? Because that's something that I'm not willing to budge. You start looking at stability, like, do they have a career? Are they career minded, career driven? Are they ambitious? Are they just a driven person overall? Are they friendly? Like, how do they get along with your friends, with your family? Can you picture this person coming into your circle? Do they uplift you and inspire you to be a better person? Those are the types of conversations that you start having as you start becoming an adult and as you start growing up. I think like once you're a young adult, you start kind of realizing those things. I think for me, I started realizing it probably like in my early 20s, and it might be early for some folks, but I tend to be ahead of the game for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I feel like it's that. And eventually, one of the things that I wrote down that I really want to talk about is you start to choose peace over butterflies. I think when you're a kid, you're very focused on how this person makes you feel physically. Like you get the butterflies in the stomach and then you start blushing when they talk to you. And it's like, all of that is nice. Don't get me wrong. And someone can still make you feel that, like with, your adult type, I guess. But you kind of start focusing on the greater picture. Like, are they consistent? And it's not so much about are they cute anymore. Of course, you want to still date someone that's attractive, but it's more of like consistency, values, and, characteristics and the mindset that you start looking for. Um, your type changes because you change. And as you change and as you evolve, your standards change, right? When you start becoming more ambitious in life and when you start getting more accomplishments in life, you start seeking the same from your partner. And that's valid. You always want to be ever evolving and ever changing, and your life just gets more real, right? So we start focusing more on career. For some folks, some people start going to college, and the little boyfriend that you had senior year is not going to college. So then you start feeling a little bit different because you're like, well, I'm going to college, and I really want someone that's going to college. So you break that off, and then you run off to college and go be wild and do all the fun stuff that you do in college. But life just starts getting real. Finances come into play, right? You start to learn, like, if finances are important for you, which I believe they should be important, you start to kind of think, how does this person spend their money? Are they a responsible person? Like, someone in this relationship has to be a responsible financial individual. Are they looking to be financially stable? Like, or are they someone that isn't financially stable and they're okay with that? Because there's people that are okay with not being financially stable. So you start factoring these things into account. Time, like, how do they spend their time and what do they spend it on? Are they willing to invest time in you and the relationship? Are they willing to make you a part of their schedule? Like, how is that time spent? Or are they always out partying and they hardly see their family and they don't prioritize those things that are very, very important to you? I think that's really important. And also just like long-term vision. What do they think of the future? Are they even thinking of the future? I cannot tell you the amount of times that I have talked and gone on dates with people and they refuse to think of the future. They say, why think of the future? I'm living in the now and I like to live in the present, and we don't even know if we're going to be here tomorrow. And I understand all of that's valid to an extent, right? But if you don't know what you're going to do with the next 5 months of your life, the next year of your life, that's not something that's compatible with the way that I think and my lifestyle personally. Again, we're all allowed to think the way that we are. I don't want people to come for me for that. Like, by all means, if that's what floats your boat, do it. But I'm just here to share, like, what I think. But that's one of my greatest pet peeves. When I meet someone and, they are just too free spirited in the aspect of the future. I'm a person that likes to plan. I'm a type A. I'm a type A or a red colored person, depending on what quiz you've taken out there. But I like to plan. And I like to plan things. And a lot of the times that planning carries over into my personal life, right? So, like, I'm a person that plans my weekends, but I'm also a person that plans my future. I know I want to have kids, and I know I want to get married at some point if possible. And I know that I want to, visit all these countries before I settle down. And I want to do this, I want to do that. Like, those are things that I have as goals and as accomplishments that I want to reach. And I want someone to have that mutual ambition. I personally just can't. And I've tried so many times to be very free spirited and very like take every day as it comes. And it drives me crazy. It drives me absolutely crazy because I would need to work backwards. Like if I'm going somewhere, I'm like, okay, I need to be there at 2, which means that I need to leave my house by 1:30 because it's going to take me 30 minutes to get there. So if I need to leave by 1:30, then that means I need to start getting ready at 12:30 because it takes me about an hour to get ready. But, you get the vibe. So that's how I function on my side of the world. But you reach this point where you stop dating for fun and you start dating for something serious. And I know everyone's on a different timer. Some people do that in their late 20s, some do it in their early 30s, some just are wired that way. And that's totally okay. We shouldn't shame each other. I think building your type is learning those things about yourself so that you can be compatible and you can know what you're looking for, right? If you're someone that is looking to settle down in their early 30s, you don't want to be with someone that's looking to settle down in their mid 20s because you're going to have disagreements and that's not going to work out. So that's why I think it's important to find that alignment between what you're looking for and what someone else is looking for. And you meet amazing people, don't get me wrong. Through dating, you meet amazing people, and a lot of the times these people are people that you can keep as friends, you know, being cautious of the circumstances, of course, right? But you'll come across amazing people, and life has its way of doing things where you might not be perfect for each other right now, but you never know. In the future, life might lead you guys towards this path where you reconnect, and then you're like, holy shit! Like, I remember in our early 20s when we went on that date, you said you didn't want to settle till you were 30, and here we are at 25. Both on the same page. Again, your type is evolving. It's all about evolution. The same way that you evolve as a person is the same way that your type is going to evolve. And what you may think is a priority now may not be a priority in 2 years because your career changes, your knowledge changes, your experiences change. And sometimes you might even meet someone that is part of that change, that makes that change for you. I know people that have met individuals who have given them a different perspective in life and have helped them realize that maybe they don't have to live free spirited every day, and maybe pre-planning is a good thing. So take that as you please. But I think we all just go through this moment of realization where we realize that the type that our old type no longer fits with our current circumstances. And that's part of that evolution part that I keep referring to, where you start to outgrow situations, circles, spaces, people. And sometimes you're outgrowing things that you used to be obsessed with. I know friends that used to be obsessed with a certain specific type of person, their type, and they just kind of like slowly start to outgrow that person and outgrow those cycles and those habits. And they're just kind of like, oh my God, like looking back, I don't know how I was into someone who was very authoritarian, right? Because their circumstances change. And I think a version of you that likes that reaches a point where it no longer exists, and you start to finally settle in with what that type looks like for a future. Because let's be honest, you guys, we all reach a day and age where we realize that we can't party like we used to anymore. The knees start cracking. You start wanting to be in bed by 10. And, you start craving the cuddles and the movie nights and the dinners and the Christmas lights. And I think that's when you realize, like, okay, my priorities have changed. But have fun. I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer and be like, you need to figure out what your type is. But no, like, be open to it. Because the whole reason why this episode came to mind was I was, hanging out with some friends. And one of the things that we were talking about was like, I'll be honest, we were out and about and we kept trying to connect each other with other folks in the same space as us, if you know what I mean. And often everyone was just like, that's not my type. He's not my type. Oh, she's not my type. This, like, blah, 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 blah. And then I remember sitting there and I'm just like, everyone's so hyper focused on type, 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 type. Like, how do you even know if this person's your type if you've never met them? If you're just judging them based off of the way that they look or the space that they're in, which is the same space that you're in, right? I know oftentimes my friends drag me to different functions and I'm like, no, that's not my type. Like, my type of person wouldn't be here. But then I'm like, well, I'm here, you know? So what if that person was also dragged out under the same circumstances that you were dragged out? So I think being okay with an ever-changing type and open to that change, you'll be fine. But one of the things that I also wrote down was dating your type. The reality of what it actually means to date your type, because a lot of us know what our types are, but we don't really find them as often or at all for some folks. So we often find ourselves being like, no one's my type and I'm unique and I'm different than everyone else. But dating your type, if you actually have gotten to date your type before, I don't know what type of a program you guys are running at home, if you're running it like the Navy or not, but if you actually date your type, it can be scary. And I will tell you, it's a very scary experience because you're finally dating someone that checks all your boxes, and that can mean something for someone. You know, if you're later in life and you're finally meeting someone like that, and you're like, this can be the person. And sometimes if you're younger, you're like, holy crap, like this is probably the person that's going to take me away from this party lifestyle. So it can be scary. It can be uncomfortable to date your type. And oftentimes it can cause you to self-sabotage because this person's too perfect. And why are they into me? And why are they still here? And why do they consistently show up? And why do they check all my boxes? A lot of the times those are things that come to our mind. And that's where I want people to be free-spirited. And that's where I try to get my friends to be like, okay, you have met someone that's your type. You guys are talking. Now is the time to let life do its magical thing. But also, just because someone fits your type doesn't mean that they're right for you. And I think this ties back to sometimes our type is tied to that emotional instability of what we are missing. And that can be trauma. A lot of the times, childhood trauma creeps in and we like someone that we like a little toxic. Sometimes we like to be in situations that are comfortable to us, whether that's arguments or whether that's toxic environments or, a love-hate relationship where you're always off and on and you're always arguing. But at the end of the day, you love each other and that's why you're there. Those are the moments where you have to say, maybe this is not my type and maybe this is connected to something different than what it appears. Sometimes those type of partners can keep you stuck in cycles that prevent you from evolving and prevent your type from evolving. And sometimes that familiarity, whatever the fuck that word is called, sometimes it's familiar, but it's not healthy. And I think that's when people need to sit themselves down and say, okay, is it time to evolve? And is it time to evolve my circle with me? Because chemistry can lie, but patterns don't, y'all. Pay attention to the patterns, because a lot of the times I be hearing stories and I'm like, you said this 2 weeks ago. So redefining your type is important. And I think that's kind of the moment where you start to make decisions that are more tied to who you actually see yourself with. Let me see these notes that I made here. I really was like writing this and I was just kind of like, because I write my episodes before I, structure y todo el pedo. But when I write these, I try to really just think of like what I think, which is that's the whole reason for this podcast. But I try not to get called out either. I try to be a little nice. But anyways, back on track. When you're redefining your type, you're shifting from what I'm attracted to what actually works for my life. And that's something that's really important because we can be attracted to one thing, but it may not always be the healthy option and it may not always be what works with our life, right? So if you're attracted to someone who lives on the edge and, you know, is a bad person, like a bad boy or a bad girl, that might not align with who you actually need in life because your emotional security might actually need someone that's consistent and someone that's attentive and someone that's a little bit more slow paced. And I can relate to that and we're going to get into that, but build a new type based on how they treat you, how they show up for you, and how they fit in your future. Those are the three things that you should look for when building a new type of person that you're attracted to. If you're still watching, thank you so much for sticking this long. I wanted to throw in a little treat for the audience, and I wanted to give you guys a little something to, please you for listening to this episode because I'm out here talking about types and whatever. I'm going to let you guys in on what my type is and slightly cringy. Yeah, but I'm going to tell you guys what my type is. Disclaimer, if you're someone that's watching this and you're looking to get at me, take this with a grain of salt, still shoot your shot, you never know. But I feel like my type I used to be very focused on someone who was funny, someone who was slightly toxic, someone that was hot, someone that was tall. I think a lot of us can relate to that. So cringy. I'm so embarrassed. But I feel like those were things that I used to look for. I used to be one of those people that was like, I'm not going to date anyone that's taller than 6'1". I'm embarrassed. I know. But it's part of life. You have to go through that to reach the point of knowing who actually your type is, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck how tall you are. If you don't got your shit together, there's the door, baby boy. But now, modern day, my type is, and this is as of 2026, April 2026, because I don't want future me to look back at this and be like, I feel like right now in this moment, my type is someone who's ambitious and driven, someone who's emotionally mature, someone who's independent, someone who can match my energy and lifestyle, and someone who can handle my busy schedule. Let's break that down. I tend to be more attracted to people who are ambitious. And that's what I mean by, like, I don't care how tall you are. Like, are you ambitious? Like, are you always looking for ways to elevate your life? Or, like, are you playing checkers when someone's playing chess? I think that's hopefully the right term to use. But I want to know that you have the drive in you to always want something better and always want more in a healthy way, right? Of course, like, I don't want someone that's just going to like settle for the bare minimum because I'm not that type of way. And it would frustrate me to be with someone that doesn't understand the way that I think in regards to ambition. Emotionally mature is important because having gone through therapy and having, learned so much about what it means to be an individual and what it means to have grown up a certain way, and like gaining that knowledge has taught me so much and has made me very emotionally mature. So I feel like dealing with someone that's not mature in that sense would drive me crazy. I feel like being able to hold yourself accountable, being able to have vulnerable conversations, being able to admit that you're wrong when you're wrong, or being able to voice something that's not, appealing to you, like, those are conversations that I need to have in a relationship. And I feel like someone that is going to play games and be like, I'm not going to talk to you because I'm mad, or no, like, just tell me. Let's be grown adults. Let's sit down. If you didn't like something, tell me. If I don't like something, I'm going to tell you. So that's where I want to see that mutual connection, because I will tell you what I don't like. And if you're not going to do that and you're going to play this game, it's not going to work out. Independence is huge. I'm a very independent person, and I've always been an independent person. I've always been someone that has done things for myself, and I always want to do something for myself, right? Like if I want something, I'm going to get it and I'm going to figure out how to get it on my own, right? I'm not going to depend on so and so or this opportunity. Like I'm going to work on trying to get something that I want. And I want someone that has that independence, that has, doesn't need to rely on someone else, doesn't need to rely on, their parents for everything, or someone that knows their social security number, because you'd be surprised. Like independence, like have that independence. And I'm a very independent person, and I need someone to understand why sometimes I'm okay if, I don't hear from you for like an hour, because I'm like, well, I'm doing my own thing. You're allowed to do your own thing too. And all in all, just like being able to match my energy. I'm a very extroverted person, so I need someone that can handle that. I need someone that can handle, my lifestyle in regards to like the things that I like to do. And like I like to go out and I like to explore cafes and I like to eat yummy food. Like those are rewards for me, because I feel like I work really hard for my money and I want to enjoy that. And I also want someone who can understand that I have a busy schedule. Work keeps me very busy. This podcast project keeps me busy and it takes time away from my schedule. And I want someone to embrace that and support me through that, instead of trying to tear me down and trying to find ways to take up more of my time. Of course, it's all in a respectful, responsible way. Like I make time for the people that are important to me. But aside from that, the bigger picture, like I need someone that understands that. And I like someone who adds to my life and, like I said, doesn't take away from it, because part of being an independent person is like I can do so much on my own, so I don't need you, right? Like I can provide for myself. Like I am a provider for myself. I live on my own. I pay my own bills. If there's something that I want it. I got it, unfortunately, for some people. But like, if you're going to be a part of my life, it's because you're in addition to it and you provide something that I like, which can be, that emotional attention or that, that connection. Like, that's what I want. I don't need someone because they're going to pay for stuff or because they're going to drive me to this place or they're going to show me the world. Like, I can show myself the world, So I think that's also something that a lot of people struggle to understand, that it's when you're a very independent person, you don't rely on people. And I'm not going to die if you're no longer in my life, because I'm like, all right, cool. My bills are still paid. My degree's still there. But yeah, overall, now where I'm at in life, I've realized that I need someone that's consistent, that's mature, and is willing to support the crazy life that I have. And, he can be fine, but if he's inconsistent, he's got to go, you guys. Come on. Like, there's so many people in this world, and it really, like, it's heartbreaking to me when people, like, choose to stay in situations that could be better for them. And I understand it's hard. It's hard to leave toxic situations. I know it's hard to leave abusive situations. I understand. I've been in research classes for that, and I know that it's difficult. But for the more lighter things, like, there's tons of people that you can meet. So I really encourage people to always do that. So as we get closer to the end, the hard truth is you might be the reason why your love life is not working. You might be stuck on old cycles. You might be stuck on a version of your type that has not evolved, but you yourself has evolved. So if you're trying to date someone that's an old version of you, that's aligned with an old version of you, it's going to be hard. Your love life is going to be hard. Attraction alone isn't enough. You can be attracted to someone and you can think someone's hot. You can think they look like your favorite artist or your favorite celebrity crush. But at the end of the day, if they're not satisfying your heart and if they're not filling your cup, it's not going to work. And you can't keep picking the same person and expecting different outcomes. I made that note because I think that's something that I learned the hard way. You can pick someone as much as you want and you can have faith in them and you can encourage them and you can try your best to do everything in your power to make that person be the person you want them to be. But at the end of the day, they're not going to be that person if it doesn't come from them. So change it up. Explore your cycles, explore your evolution, and sit yourself down and think, what do I need now? What do I want from the future? Do I need to look at that now? Like, right, if you want kids, as long as you find someone that is on the same page, you're fine. You don't need to have a kid like right now if that's not in your books, but it's the moral of the story. So overall, I think it's safe to say that your type isn't someone that's permanent, and I hope we can take that away from today's episode. Again, it's all about evolution. I think I might be annoying as fuck with that word, evolution. Evolution, I'm going to put it on a shirt and wear it, but we evolve as people, and that's like the moral of today's story is that your type should evolve because you evolve. And that's how you stay in line with what you really need as an individual. And the goal isn't to find exactly someone that checks every single box of your type, but it's someone that aligns with you and how they make you feel and how you see yourself. Because again, the person that you're dating only says so much about you. And that can be how much you're willing to take, how much you're willing to settle for, how much you're willing to, discourage and, tear yourself down for someone. Like, it changes for everyone. But at the end of the day, you want people to have respect for you and have, that happiness for you when they see your partner. You don't want them to think anything else from that. But sometimes in order to reach that, it means you have to let go of what you're used to. And humans are creatures of habit. I myself am a creature of habit. And I think it's important to have these moments where we sit ourselves down and we say, okay, what am I looking for now and what needs to change? Am I still stuck on something that's no longer a part of my life? Does evolution need to happen? And yeah, I think we'll all be fine. I think we'll be okay. You can still go out and party. You can still go out and kiss as many boys and girls as you want. That's the part of life that's fun, right? But I think when we're, focusing on relationships, that needs to be in line. Because a lot of the times, most of us are trying to confuse entertainment and fun as, goals and types of people that we're into. So don't get them twisted. Two separate things. Go have fun. Summer's coming. Book the events, book the fun. But if you're looking for someone, make sure that you know what you're looking for before you go out and you try to look for them out there, because they could be out there in the same spaces as you. But if you're both on that same page, you'll figure it out. I hope you guys like this episode. This is something that came to mind from my own personal experience and being out with friends. And we were just like, that's not my type. That's not my type. So again, your types change. Don't be so hyper-focused on it. This is just shits and giggles and me sharing my opinion. You got to hear what my type is and how that evolved from tall, sexy, slightly toxic to ambitious and, lifestyle choices. So keep going. If you want to share your type, drop it in the comments or send us a DM. But yeah, hopefully you find your type. Hopefully you evolve into the perfect person that you're meant to be. And until next time, have fun. Bye, guys.